You woke up this morning, brushed your teeth, had your coffee, checked your phone, and headed out for another day. And none of those choices were truly yours. You are not living. You are functioning. And the difference between those two things is the abyss that separates those who merely survive from those who truly exist. I know this idea hurts. I know that right now, something inside you wants to push back, wants to say no, that you do what you want, that you're the master of your own destiny. But before you close this video, give me a chance. Because if you've made it this far, maybe deep down you already know something isn't right. Maybe you've already felt that quiet restlessness in your chest, that sensation of running on a treadmill that leads nowhere. And that's exactly what we need to talk about. Look, the modern world created a brilliant illusion. It gave us freedom of choice. You can choose among 1,000 cereal brands at the grocery store, among hundreds of shows on a streaming platform, among dozens of careers at college. And because of this abundance, you convince yourself that you're free. But there's a brutal difference between having options and having autonomy. Having options means choosing between paths someone else already laid out for you. Having autonomy means creating your own path, and most of us were never taught how to do that. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han called our era the Burnout Society. He realized we're no longer controlled by repression, like in the dictatorships of the past. We're controlled by performance. Nobody needs to force you to work 16 hours a day. You do it on your own, because you learned that your worth depends on your productivity. You are not a person. You are a function. And functions don't rest, don't question, don't feel. Functions just execute. Think about it. When was the last time someone asked how you're doing and you answered honestly? Not that automatic, "I'm fine," that leaves your mouth before you even think. When was the last time you stopped, looked inward and asked yourself, am I doing this because I want to, or because I need to look like I want to? The honest answer to that question can change everything. Because the great prison of our time has no bars. It has goals, deadlines, likes, and social approval. The Stoics, back in ancient Rome, already warned us about this. Seneca wrote that most people don't live, they merely keep busy. And busyness, my friend, is not life. It's anesthesia. It's the noise we use so we don't have to hear the silence that frightens us. It's the packed schedule we use as a shield against the question we don't want to face. When you fill every second of your day with tasks, notifications, and obligations, there's no room left for the most important question that exists. What for? What is this race for? What is this effort for? Who are you functioning for? Modern psychology confirmed what the philosophers already intuited. The psychologist Carl Rogers spoke about the real self and the ideal self. The real self is who you truly are, with your desires, fears, quirks, and contradictions. The ideal self is who you think you should be in order to be loved, accepted, and respected. The problem is that since childhood, we've been trained to kill the real self in the name of the ideal self. We've been trained to function, be quiet, don't cry, be strong, study harder, work harder, post more, show up more. And at some point in that process, the person you truly were got buried under so many layers of expectation. And I ask you now, sincerely, do you know who that person is? Do you know who lives underneath everything you were taught to be? If this idea has already resonated with you, imagine what comes next. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss this journey, because it's only just beginning. Now let's go a little deeper, because understanding the problem is only half the way. What really matters is feeling the problem. And to feel it, we need to be honest. Think of a plant growing in a pot that's too small. It adapts. Its roots twist, squeeze, find cracks. It stays alive. It even blooms sometimes. But it never reaches its real size. It never expands the way it could if it had open soil, open sky, space. You are that plant, and the pot is every belief they told you was absolute truth. Success means having money. Happiness means having stability. Personal worth equals productivity. Rest is laziness. Vulnerability is weakness. I talk to a lot of people. Different people from different places with completely different stories. And you know what they all have in common? A tiredness that isn't of the body. It's a tiredness of the soul. A tiredness of pretending, of smiling when you want to cry, of saying yes when everything inside screams no, of keeping up appearances when the ground is crumbling from within. That's not strength, that's performance. And performance, when it becomes the default mode of existence, turns into a silent disease. There's a story that stays with me deeply. A man worked his entire life. He woke up early, went to bed late, sacrificed weekends, postponed dreams. He climbed the career ladder, bought the house, the car, provided comfort for his family. When he retired, he sat down in a chair and realized he didn't know who he was without the badge, without the title, without the function. His identity was so fused with what he did that when he stopped doing it, there was simply no one left. He wasn't a person who worked, he was a job disguised as a person. And don't think this is just something that happens to older people. Look at the young people today. Look at the teenagers and 20-somethings who are already exhausted, anxious, depressed. They haven't even started living, and they're already functioning at full capacity, because the system doesn't wait. From early on, you need to have a purpose, a personal brand, a competitive edge. You need to be somebody. And being somebody in this context doesn't mean knowing yourself. It means selling yourself. But right now, I need to tell you something that changes everything. And this is where the most important part of this conversation begins. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be set free. Transformation doesn't come from adding more things to your life, more courses, more habits, more productivity routines, more mindfulness techniques sold as products. Real transformation comes from removing the layers that aren't yours, removing the expectations that suffocate you, removing the need for approval that keeps you trapped in an endless cycle of performance. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps, wrote that the last human freedom is the ability to choose your attitude in any given circumstance. Even when everything had been taken from him, his clothes, his food, his dignity, he discovered that no one could steal the meaning he gave to his experience. And that's exactly where the difference between functioning and living resides. Functioning is reacting to the external world. Living is responding from an internal place, from a center that belongs only to you. In practical terms, what does this mean? It means the first step toward genuine freedom is the courage to stop, to truly stop. Not stopping to scroll through your phone feed, not stopping to watch another show, not stopping to trade one distraction for another, stopping to sit in silence with yourself, stopping and enduring the discomfort of doing nothing, because in this society, doing nothing is the most revolutionary act there is. Seneca said that one of humanity's greatest afflictions is that no one devotes themselves to themselves. We're all devoted to something else, to someone else, to some other goal. We live entirely outward and forget there's an entire universe in here waiting to be explored. Start small. Set aside 10 minutes of your day, just 10 minutes, with no screen, no sound, no distraction, and ask, what am I feeling right now? Not what I should be feeling. What am I actually feeling? If anger comes, let it come. If sadness comes, let it come. If emptiness comes, let it come. Because emptiness is not your enemy. Emptiness is the space where the true self can finally breathe. The second step is to question your automatic loyalties. Who are you being loyal to when you say yes without wanting to? Who are you serving when you ignore your own limits? So often, we're repeating patterns we inherited from our parents, our teachers, our culture. Patterns that were never questioned, just absorbed. And blind loyalty, no matter how noble it seems, is a chain. The third step is the hardest, and perhaps the most beautiful. It's allowing yourself to be imperfect. Not imperfect as a marketing strategy, that hollow, nobody's perfect speech the internet repeats without feeling it. Truly imperfect, with flaws that hurt, with limitations that are uncomfortable, with desires that don't make sense, with days when nothing works and everything seems to fall apart, because it's in raw, honest, unfiltered imperfection that humanity lives. And it's humanity that connects you to others, not performance. But there's an even deeper secret that few people know, and it sits at the center of everything I've said so far. The secret is this: you never lost who you are, you just forgot. Beneath all the functions, all the roles, all the masks, there is someone who was born whole, someone who before learning to function simply knew how to be. Have you ever watched a child play? They don't play to be productive. They don't play to post on Instagram. They don't play to impress anyone. They play because playing is the purest expression of being alive, and that's what life is asking you to reclaim. Not to abandon your responsibilities, not to drop everything and go live on a mountain, but to find space within the life you live, within the real obligations and real challenges, to simply be and not just function. The existentialist philosopher Søren Kierkegaard wrote that the deepest form of despair is not being yourself. And pay attention, he didn't say that despair is suffering. He said that despair is living your entire life without ever finding yourself. It's spending decades on autopilot and, in a flash of clarity, realizing that life was never truly yours. This is the revelation that liberates and terrifies at the same time. You may have built an entire life that doesn't belong to you, a career that doesn't represent you, relationships built on who you pretend to be, habits that serve a character, not a person. And that's okay, because recognizing this isn't failure. It's the beginning of everything, because the moment to wake up is now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And this moment, this exact instant, when something inside you recognizes the truth, is the most powerful moment that exists. So I leave you with this. You are not your goals. You are not your title. You are not your productivity. You are not the number of followers on a screen. You are what remains when all of that falls away. And what remains, if you have the courage to look, is more than enough. It's extraordinary. It's alive. It's real. Stop functioning. Start existing, because life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It waits for you to be present. If this video touched something inside you, leave a like. Not for me, for the algorithm that will carry this message to someone else who needs to hear exactly this, exactly today. Comment below what you felt. Write a word, a sentence, a confession. This space is yours. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, because this journey of awakening doesn't end here. And if you know someone who is stuck in this cycle of functioning without living, someone who is tired in a way that sleep can't cure, share this video with them. Sometimes the right idea at the right time changes an entire life. See you in the next video. Until then, don't function. Live.